Deputy Clerk. And on Zoom, Assessor Jan Churchwell.
Not Singer.
Okay, and we have some guests here tonight, and I'll make sure to report you. Madam Supervisor, we have quorum for business. Oh, and we have our two bases.
Absolutely. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all. It has been a busy couple of weeks. I was able to do a couple of site visits since our last meeting at Glencoe Youth Services and at Youth Services at Glenview. I was able to join Rebuilding Together for their kickoff with a few of our staff members as well. We were able to host Regina Dominican leadership group who came here and had a lovely visit discussing what townships do and how property taxes work. Had a discussion I was able to thank Hakafa, who's one of our biggest food pantry donors, in person there as well. We had an agency lunch here at the township, where we voted on our favorite Nutri Township set movie and Home Alone 1. But it was close. It was a close run with Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So yeah, you can test.
Well, kind of use movies.
Yep, exactly. But yes, some were less loved. I represented the township at the Chamber of Commerce lunch. And we had an intergovernmental cooperation committee meeting here at the township. The committee has decided to focus this year on civility in government and in civil society. Yes. So we will be analyzing what model policies and campaigns can be implemented across Wilmette and New Trier. The ICC is Wilmette entities. They're, to my knowledge, not a similar entity for the Winnetka, Glencoe, or any of those other municipalities. So I would welcome it. Because it was here, I was able to give a tour of the pantry to representatives from each of the boards. So that was helpful.
Can we expand it to the federal level?
Right. Seriously. Also got to represent the township at Treasurer Frerichs's Women's History Month reception. He thanked us for slipping in favor of the nonprofit investment pool bill. So that was lovely. And he also did a visit to the Housing Development Opportunity Corporation, Cleveland Place, to check out the building now that it's been a few years, and to discuss how the township can support housing developments, affordable housing developments going forward. And you'll hear about a little bit more about that when we talk about the budget. But yes, I think it covers a lot. Any questions about the last couple of weeks? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk?
So I presented the minutes. They're only in paper form. If you don't have enough time to review them now, I'd welcome tabling, but you do have a copy of them, and they're very accurate and complete. And if I've made any things that need to be revised, I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, sorry, I have to add one more thing to this, to the supervisor's report. A health teacher at New Trier Township High School asked me to speak to her classes about the township and food pantry and the needs in the township mental health wise. So I had 5 Zooms with their class, and it was exhausting, and I'm not the teacher. So yeah, but it was really fun and a really good idea. And so I'm really glad that she asked, but I definitely explained everything almost exactly. So much respect to the teachers.
Supervisor, that maybe some of them will be students that Trustee Moser
Potentially,
can
exactly.
involve in our time.
All right, we're live for the approval of the minutes from February
I
11th.
don't know if you should table them or.
Is there?
I've got some corrections.
Okay, great. So it looks like we'll have discussion.
Page 2, clerk's report.
The third bullet point needs a period at the end to conform to the rest.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Page 4. The first vote similarly needs a period at the end to conform to the rest.
The first one. Yep,
Page 5, under the acknowledgement of staff reports. I just like to amend this to read trustee Casal McNally suggested that outreach and communications director Berman investigate joining social media platform Blue Sky. And new opportunities, blah, blah, blah. And then regarding the proposed agenda for the town meeting. With regards to item 11,
well, we're gonna go with that. You in the minutes or?
yeah, now, or will it be done
Alright.
somewhere else?
I'm sorry, where is
Because I
that?
need
Okay, what page? It's in the clerk's
It's,
report.
it's on the
Okay.
clerk's report.
Okay, we're going back, okay,
Item
We're not
11.
at the clerk's report yet. Yeah,
okay,
approval of the minutes.
okay.
Sorry, it was attached to the clerk's report.
Yes. Yep.
Right, I
Other
thought
than
it'd be
that,
very
any
thorough.
questions?
Are there any other edits to the February 11th, 2025 minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the February 11th, 2025 minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, they are approved. Okay, now we're at the clerk's report.
Okay, thank
Continue
you,
to
I'm
please-
delighted, and why don't I start with the annual town meeting, so, this is always a highlight for me, and I am the only officer standing, and what that means is that I kick it off, and my responsibility to coordinate it, and we don't even sit up at a stage, and because we're all electors at this meeting, we're all residents, electors, and then we vote to pick a moderator, but it's my responsibility to prepare the agenda, and I've been giving a lot of thought to it, and I'm very excited. This is the proposed agenda. Do you want me to walk it through, or Kate, do you want suggestion first?
No, I think I've had enough time to read it. So item 11, the resolution for consideration, of electors to delegate authority to.
Right.
So this was a big deal last year. I
Yes.
want to make sure that we've got counsel there and that there is a pre-written explanation.
Good news. Ross
sorry,
Eckler
go
is
ahead,
already,
you
well,
go.
good news, he had your question, he's already corresponding with Supervisor Driver and me, and he's gonna be there, and he drafted a proposed resolution. And he'll be able to speak to it and stand for it and explain why we need this.
Excellent. Will that be available to the public ahead of time so that people have more than 5 minutes of access to it so that they can read it and, get through it and adjust to it? Because last year, I think that, we pulled the rug out from underneath people and that was the cause of some
I
of the
think that's
issue.
an excellent idea, actually, Larissa, maybe we could put it up, and
Well, why doesn't we just use the
we
system?
could do that, okay.
As
so
an
then-
attachment to the,
Yeah, that's great, but that was Ross's email, I didn't have a
Yep,
comment to ask you. about
exactly.
it.
Yep.
So, are you supporting that item 11? I put it on because we suggested it last year, and I.
He wants
It
us
needs
to
to be done every year.
I don't know, it's a board's decision, Christine.
One thing we could do when we sign people in at the meeting is we could have a one-page flyer talking about how routine it is, that this is a standard thing. And just kind of bullet point, like a half a page, a little flyer, you sign in, you get it, it's gonna come up, then there won't be any surprises. But the goal of that flyer should be to really present this as a routine matter.
Yeah.
So.
I would just attach it like we do normal agenda items.
Yeah, I would too. I wouldn't make a big deal.
Attach it to what?
The same way we post our normal agendas, we're gonna have our agenda for the annual town meeting and it will have a link to the
And it's
resolution.
paper copies, Ellie, we have the agenda, we have the rules and procedures, we have the minutes. for
Right, it'll be part of the
So we
big
part of that
package.
packet, yeah.
Yeah, that people
That's
will get when
great.
they come in.
Last year, we
Yeah.
just didn't know what to do.
Yes,
We learned a
yes.
lesson.
Yes, no.
Just like the recording, we will have a recording this year. I mean, in all the time, we've never been recording this, but last year, even though there's some beautiful registrations like the one you got, but we don't have that on record, so.
Oh,
It'll
but
be
I-
quite a challenge to prepare the minutes for that.
All right, let's keep on focus on the agenda.
Okay, so on the agenda, why don't I walk you through it? The first thing is Gail's gonna have the Girl Scouts, it's gonna be great, and,
And I will ask that we just delete that part just because I don't know which troop is gonna be
Okay,
doing it.
so I'll
And
just
ask
say
who's working on
Girl
their
Scouts.
civics troop.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll cut out Gail's.
Where is it?
At the boardroom for New Trier Township, I don't know, that West Camp,
Northfield.
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 But I went to West, that's why I call it.
Freshman campus.
The Northfield campus, which is, it's just really, really cool room, nice space. well, we won't have that many people. I mean, if we do, that would be fantastic.
It would be great if we can add in then, in that case as well, just
Yeah.
after 176th annual town meeting, just add the location.
Okay, yeah, oh, great, yeah. I mean, this is just for you to look at.
Right.
Okay, add location,
Mhm,
because I wanna put this on the web as soon as possible.
absolutely.
Okay, and then, we just using the approve the agenda, elect the moderator. Last year, in preparation of challenges to the moderator that I request, I made sure to have a very neutral packet with all the instructions, the agenda, the script essentially. So I'm gonna repeat that this year, just in case a person or persons approach that wanna just mention 100% neutrality and fairness, that even though I have somebody in mind, I would like you all to know that it's gonna be open to anyone, that if they get support, they'll become the moderator. And then
Who's gonna be our moderator?
I'd like Victoria to do
She's
that.
great, yeah.
She handled fabulously, and if she'd agree,
Yes.
but there might be, you know, as we prepared last year, more, challenges, so it'll be interesting, why not, if they decide to run. And then they just do the, once the moderator is elected, they adopt the rules procedure, accept the minutes. Now, you're probably wondering why. I am delighted, due to some efforts of Gail and Larisha, I got very nice draft minutes from the previous clerk, Nicole Capretta, and she did a really nice job, so I'll include her minutes, which is great, they were in that box.
Great.
So I don't have to reinvent those, and then we'll have minutes, I'll have to create something from last, so it's gonna be interesting, it looks strange, but you don't actually, you just read them and accept them, it's not, anyway, then, we'll go to the reports from the elected officials, and Elliot, it's your turn, so how sweet, because it's your final year as an elected official, how sweet that you're.
I'd be honored, absolutely.
And if, yeah, I know you've done this before, but it would be great to have you, conclude out on behalf of the trustees. And, then we'll do the financial report, public comments and questions. We're really prepared for that now, if we have more strict guidelines and such. And resolution sets on, so next year, and I checked, it's not, it doesn't conflict with, what's the name of that,
Passover.
Passover, yeah, Ramadan is earlier now anyway. Okay, and then there's the resolution that trustee Casal McNally was asking for, and that again was just, this is a proposed agenda, so if you agree, we'll put that on. Guest speaker, I included his, CV, what a score, Dr. Paul Sally. I served on the New Trier Educational Foundation with him for years. He head and shoulders above other superintendents, and I can testify as a 33-year, educator, he stood right beside some of the best that I had at Glenbrook, some top-notch superintendents, and they had such respect for one another because he's great. And as he retires, I thought, what a score. Parents like Danielle's kids, and too bad your kids won't, Gail, but so many of you who had that experience with him know that it would be a great time for him to reflect on his time in service, and especially having it at the high school. Also, we have some really good, Brian announced Ali Amin is gonna be the Peers jury winner, so you might know him too. But Brian was pleased with him, and then we'll ask him to be at the meeting to read his award-winning essay. Then we had recognition of retiring township committee members, and Stephen, and I was gonna ask Danielle to say a few words too with Stephen at that point. And then Township Service Awards, those are the two awards given to trustee Rubin and trustee Robbins, and I was gonna ask trustee Cassell McNally to spearhead that one.
Sorry, to do what?
I was gonna ask you to spearhead that one.
Present the Township
present
Service
that.
Awards to
Sure.
Danielle and Ellie.
I don't think that we have anybody retiring this year.
I'm sorry, I'm getting
I see.
confused. I meant the Township Service Awards goes to the retiring trustees.
Right, she was back at the.
Advisory committee
She was actually.
members. I don't think that we have anybody retiring. I have
Did you
the,
retire this year?
no, I don't think so,
Okay.
but be sure you double check with Steve.
Okay, please, thank you. Well, can I put it on the agenda and then we'll
Yes.
just skip
Yeah,
over it again?
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Larisha. And then the service awards, if you'd agree, trustee Cassell McNally, that would be kind of sweet. And then if you'd want trustee Moser to say anything as well. Or if you wanna do it alone, I just thought it would be sweet.
We'll figure it
You,
out.
as a trustee on behalf, to speak about the other trustees in your
We
work.
complement one another. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, amen.
Mutton Jeff right here.
And then the next item, friend of the township awards, Gail has some great nominees for that one, so Gail, I was hoping you could take care of that. The Harriet Hung Lifetime of Service, I'm gonna present that to Dr. Sally, and assisting me will be Jan Churchwell. Jan, are you there? No.
Yes, she's
Shan-
there. She's there.
Janice agreed to,
Yes,
to
I
say
am.
something sweet about Harriet. I thought, look, when you get an award named for somebody who is remembered by people, and that's part of, you being remembered, it's really beautiful, especially Harriet Hahn, who, when I think about it, just, I'm sad all of you didn't know her, because she was a legend. So for Dr. Sally to get this award in Harriet's honor, and then to have Jan remark about somebody who grew up with Harriet, grew up as a child with, sorry. But Harriet was legendary. And then the final award, Georgie Noyes, I've asked trustee Elliot Robbins, because he prepared an outstanding nomination, and Supervisor Eisenberg can testify. It was really well done, that the nominee is Mr. Al
Delinko.
Delinko.
And it dovetails nicely off of Paul Sally, and we're doing it at New Trier West, so it's very much of a tribute to the education in the high school and youth. I mean, that's what these guys have done, and they've done great things for youth in the township.
People that care about the future, even when they might not, see the tree grow. It's very nice. And especially since you did know George Noyes as well. And I want to keep that going as long as possible, that we say, wow, that somebody knows, because Stefan stuck in my mind when you gave what once you presented it, and it was just like very memorable the way you talked about what a great guy he was. Of course, Alan knew him well. And
No, this reminds me, so we have a nice little blurb about the George,
Is this about the agenda?
the service award. This is about the agenda, but we need to get on our website something about the Harriet Hahn Lifetime Achievement Award. Now that it's become an established award, there should be a little blurb about that in our website.
okay, that's a great idea. That's really great. Thank you. Let me say, add that to.
Any additional discussion about the agenda?
Just want to add that I think this is a really great agenda, and thank you so much for putting it together and all your hard work.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm excited about it.
All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda with the small edits that have been noted, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it is approved.
Did you need a second for that motion, or did I just say you?
Second.
Okay.
Second was Kate.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Consolidated election update.
Okay, so I've included in your packet, information about the consolidated election. The first thing is the ballot group, which was just interesting, because that's all, that's what we put in, and it wasn't very much this year, but still, it's all done accurately right, and you'll be the winners, including one of our visitors tonight, who's rejoining local government for years. Anyway, that's the Cook County ballot, and then I also thought I'd attach early voting sites. It's great that they're continuing that. They'll have it over at Mallinckrodt. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Essentially.
Yeah, I was thinking of Mallinckrodt from the minute, at the Centennial Center, so, and you can also do it Northford Village Hall, Evanston, so there's all sorts of places, but you have access to that map. And, two final things, I wanted to talk to you, remind you that we won't see each other before May 1st, and the statement of economic interest is due. And as somebody who thought that when I retired from township service, I didn't have to fill one out, I learned the hard way that because I didn't have a township email anymore, et cetera. So I just feel very strongly, especially you, Danielle, and Ellie, you remember you have to fill out even though you're not serving in the next term.
So we have to fill out this year, but then we don't have to keep filling it out to it.
Right.
Right.
But you have to fill out one before you finish,
Well,
okay?
we just
I know,
did one.
That one was for your candidacy.
candidacy.
So
This
it's not the
is-
thing.
This is the 2024 Statement of Economic Interest as an official.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't make a rule of seven, but it is funny, I just learned from, that you have to make sure to file, even though you assume you're serving anymore, you don't need to, but you do. And then the final issues on my report, professional development, right? So like Gail, I am thrilled to be active with things, including webinars, and I attended virtually a very interesting one about township government on personnel and policy management. I learned more than I wanted to know, but Gail's an interesting thing. You were there in person.
Which one?
For the Northern Illinois one?
No, I was not.
Naperville?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
But I attended virtually, and it was very interesting, just exciting, and I did some others like that. The professional development is very cool. Thank you, everyone.
Do you know when the economic statements due?
May
May
1st.
1st.
Okay.
It looks very similar to last time.
Yes.
It still says things like fill in not applicable or none, but then there's a button that says not applicable. So I'm wondering if that's a trick. All right, allow change. We're now in line for the financial report. Mr. Howard?
Okay, good evening, everybody. It's finally here, the end of the fiscal year. Again, being on the accrual basis, we will still have some possible late bills and invoices that we'll have to accrue back. So this is still tentative. But let's go through the 12 months ended February 2025. Again, 100% of the way through. You can see revenue-wise, a little bit better than expected on the property tax line, up 7% over budget, which is good news on revenue. Replacement taxes didn't quite hit the mark, 71%. Remember, the state did recoup some of this money to fill some other buckets. They did send out kind of a letter on this. It was very vague, but if you go to the Illinois Personal Property Replacement Tax website, they do make mention of this, and so this is something we'll account for in next year's budget. Interest income was a beat for the year, almost double what we budgeted, 117,000. So that was definitely a bright spot. We've done a nice job with our investments in our managed accounts with Sawyer Faldudo. Passport fees beat by 6% and then 100% on the other income line. So almost 4 million in total revenue. We budgeted about 3.7, so we were up about 8% from the budget. In terms of expenditures, this is really good monitoring of the budget. As we go through the year, you can see all of the green outside of just two categories. And again, one of those being financial assistance, that was up 6%. Over in terms of that line, and then personnel's in at 100%. So that one I don't think should be read. All in, you can see there at 95%, 97% for the town, 87% for GA. So remember, by fund is where we want to be under budget. Some of these lines can go north of the budget, and it's not going to be an issue. We did produce a small surplus of about 318,000. Most of that went to the town fund, 655,000 to the town fund, and we reduced our fund balance position. Again, that was strategic in nature, 337,000. So again, a net surplus to the township of 318,000. We started with about 1.9 million, ended with about 2.26 million in ending fund balance. And again, that pretty much equates to cash for us. Fund balance positions now in terms of ratios to expenditures at 62 and 63%. Again, both of those north of 6 months of expenditures, again, better than best practice, all in at 62%. So again, really good year. We laid out the budgets. We stuck with them throughout the year, and we put ourselves in a very good financial position to begin the next fiscal year. As we go into the distribution, taxes lead the way at 95%, replacement tax almost 2, interest almost 3, passport fees 0.8, other 0.1. On the expenditure side, agency programs at about 44%, child care 4, projects 13, contractual 5, building town hall expenses at 3, assessor at 3, financial assistance 10, pantry 4, personnel 12, elected officials 1. So revenues over expenditures, as mentioned, for the year to the tune of about 300,000. And then in terms of our line accounts, most of those agency programs now in at 100% across all of those lines. And then again, you'll see the up and down, a lot of which stayed under budget for the year, some slightly over, but we always measure it by fund. Again, that's what draws the flag in the audit if you go over, which we weren't. Almost 9 million. We're going to be a little bit higher than fund balance right now just because we did receive some taxes in February, the majority of which will come in March. And again, we defer those into the next fiscal year. So that's why you'll see a little bit of an elevated book balance in terms of what's being held across our investments. And again, this is something we'll look to recalibrate. Some of this, I know we wanted to look into Illinois funds. So in March, after we receive this month our major installment, we can look to redistribute to a possible Illinois funds account if that's what the board wishes, or replenish some of our managed accounts with Schwab as well. Good news is the Fed is holding on rates as they try to digest tariffs and everything going on at the macro level. So I think rates will stay good at least into the next 2 to 3 months. There are still talk of rate cuts, but I think a lot of that is going to be determined by what inflation does and especially what happens now with tariffs. Outside of that, I don't have. This is just the bill list for you. You can see all the agency amounts coming through here. So we're going to have a bigger bill list than normal. You can see the total number here, just shy of $1 million for February. But outside of that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We are still investigating those outstanding checks. I know that was mentioned at the last meeting. So there is a process to that. Obviously, if we cannot contact the vendor to reissue, you know, we have to work through the state of Illinois and their unclaimed property requirements, so to speak. So that would be something we would continue to work on as we move forward into the audit for fiscal 25.
Yes, I
But
know
yeah,
that
outs-
the
go ahead.
have been working tirelessly on that one, so they've been tracking down, you know, every single one, so, you know, thank you for, you know, mentioning that, but, you know, I at least feel very secure that we've got that one kind of in process.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
It's just
Yeah.
not showing Q, but Tim and I had a meeting yesterday, so, we should be up to date. The major ones are the community support grant checks, so it's gonna take a while for those to clear.
Any other comments or questions on the February financial report? We appreciate how quickly you guys get these set and done. So we're not 2 months behind. Okay, so, is there a motion to approve the financial report?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we're now gonna verify claims.
I have one on the back of one sheet and one on.
Oh, because they're printed
Oh,
two-sided.
town fund,
It's okay, we're scanning it anyway.
So just do it.
Yeah.
I move to approve the town fund from February 1st, 2025 to February 28th, 2025, as presented to the board on March 11th, 2025, the financial reports just reviewed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rubin, trustee Moser,
Yeah.
trustee Robin,
Yes.
trustee Cassell McNally,
Yes.
supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes.
You want me to take this out of my packet?
Yeah,
Yes,
you can do that and then just sign it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Howard. I'm gonna take things out of order and ask for a motion to amend the agenda to go to acknowledgement of staff reports so that our food pantry manager can introduce himself and we don't have to make him stay forever.
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, all those opposed? Seeing none. All right, we are acknowledging our staff reports. Our food pantry manager is present. Arnold, would you mind introducing yourself?
Great, do I stand in? Do I-
We're good.
Well, it's great to be here, it's nice to finally meet you, and, I think that you're the only person I haven't met yet in person. Well, my name is Arnold, like Gail said, right? Arnold Mosqueda, right, it's great to be here today, it's great to, finally be in one of these board meetings, I've been very excited to, report, everything that I found, and everything that I hope to, build during this probably year.
How are you finding the job?
It's very fun,
Yeah?
yeah, it's been a blast, especially with all of the new moving parts. It's been, I come from a very logistical background, so it's a lot of logistics, it's right up my alley, so it's.
What's your background in logistics?
So I was responsible at my previous job, I opened the Chick-fil-A in O'Hare. So I was responsible for figuring out all of our inventory, all of our kitchen, electrical, and supplier logistics. So our storage area was a mile away from our store. So we had to transport, to the store enough for the day, a lot. Yeah, and before that, I used to train 350 people a year, for Starbucks, in every management role and in a regular bistro. So planning out training a couple times a year for 350 people, yeah, pretty intense. So a lot of logistics.
Arnold, you mentioned in your food pantry, your written report, the possibility of changing suppliers completely. That's a little bit, that was a little alarming. I mean, do you think that we might have to, when you say suppliers, you mean Grand
Yes,
and Jewel?
possibly.
Okay,
So currently, our, so I met with Northfield not too long ago,
Northfield Township.
Northfield Township, sorry. Oh,
I
yeah.
know, it's very.
Probably 3 or 4 days ago, and was speaking with Julia there, who's their food pantry manager. We compared our prices, and we pay anywhere between 10 to 100% more for all goods than they do.
where are they getting most of their goods from?
So it's very interesting because they actually are supplied by Sunset,
Which is great.
Mm.
which
the
is
Now they're grand.
which owns the Grand, correct?
Or the Grand owns Sunset, or
No.
No,
Sunset
Sunset
owns-
Sunset owns the Grand. But
They're good.
what we found now is that Sunset delivers for free, on time, and at a cheaper price than the Grand is currently charging us for all of our goods. Including that they give Northfield Township a considerable discount, as well as their produce is at a much lower rate than our produce currently is. Yeah,
So the township has this long-standing relationship with Grand here in Winnetka. So this has to be approached very delicately, and you'll involve Gail, of course, in that.
We're in discussions, but certainly, our duty is to maximize the tax dollar. And if we can support local businesses while doing it, we're happy to do so. But some of the findings were concerning.
Very concerning, and I love your initiative to see what Northfield is doing. I mean,
And the fact that Sunset owns Grand now, it's like, that's a
Exactly.
perfect.
what is the Sunset location that services the Northfield? food
the
court?
Highland Park location.
Interesting, okay,
And so we're much closer.
yes,
Um,
yes.
Arnold, I was very excited about the concept of, possibly needing to get another refrigerator freezer. It may be worth reaching out to Apt or Home Depot or Lowe's or something to see if, they could either give us preferential pricing or something like that to the degree that we do that.
Yeah.
And I also know that, you're still getting your feet under you, but I know that the food depository has, we've been trying to get on their list for a while, and so I know that that's, I'm sure, something that you'll be kind of looking into too.
Yeah, well, two
You've got
pieces of
two
good
good,
news
yeah. Oh.
is that I've already gotten us 2 new fridges and a new
Yay.
freezer from Northfield.
Oh, great.
So
They're doing their renovation.
as they're doing their renovation, they're building a walk-in for both.
Yep.
And
That's good.
as long as Gail agrees
I get
to
to
talk
find
to their
somebody to
Gail.
call it.
Correct.
All the Gail's chat.
Yes, so as long as they agree on everything, then
That's
we will be receiving 2 basically industrial fridges and 2 and
Fabulous.
another industrial freezer.
Awesome.
And as far as the Goodrich Child Food Depository goes, since I took the job and I was here in February, just kind of training under Ryan, I've been speaking with Carmen and Faith from Goodrich Child Food Depository. We have now come to an agreement for food rescue
Awesome.
from the fresh market. So currently,
It's pleasant.
last week we received about 100 pounds of food, and then this week so far we've received about another 100.
Wow.
And
Was all that bread down there? I took a look before.
yes,
Is that all?
so that's part of it. And then we're also receiving fruit, produce, prepared meals, pizzas,
This is fantastic.
and some other food. And then I'm working right now to also, we currently pick up some food that the depository won't pick up from Jewel. However, Jewel is also part of the program, so I'm talking to Carmen and Faith about including part of their pickup at Jewel
Yeah.
and diverting it to our pantry, which would add another 100 pounds or more per week.
The food rescue from Fresh Market is not something we had done before.
Right.
And that
Right.
is gratis, that is free food.
Yes.
And then, it just comes to mind, in terms of the health parameters or the propriety of giving stuff, it's a little bit old. I mean, what is our expertise in determining?
Our current policies, we do not give out expired food. But if it has a Christmas label on it and it's still good, we will put it on the shelves.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, that's really what these food rescues tend to be, is just like, it's
Yeah.
seasonal.
And we have
items.
and we have a small window kind of.
Yeah. Things where they don't have enough to stock it, you know. It's
And
perfectly-
Northfield has come through for us, just by way of history, I don't know if you know, we had a little fire here about 1.5 years ago. And the pantry literally shut down for a matter of months, and Northfield picked up the slack, and it was all just, we have a wonderful relationship with that.
Absolutely.
And then they're giving us these kind of hand-me-down fridges, free of, I mean, it's incredible.
Still got life in them.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And I'm so happy that you got to shadow Brian and that you could look to him as a mentor and watch his relationship with some of the disabled, like all over throughout the community and the clients. I'm just really very happy that you got a chance to work with him, somebody who spearheaded it for it.
And it's been great. And
When you
then,
look at that plaque of the social worker who, Betty Vitale, I think of Valley, it really wasn't that long ago that the township got into this business, so.
yeah,
for people with food.
and I also want to clarify for you as well, that for the Great Chicago Food Depository, at least one person in this building needs to hold a manager food serve certificate, and I hold the certificate for the
Great.
township.
Awesome.
So-
Yep, there you go.
I'll be taking care of the
Done
food
and
safety
done.
for everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, in terms of the bag sizes, if people come in, they don't have their blue bags, they're coming in with real big bags. How is that going over when you're laying down the law with them? How is that? being received?
Well, it's been very interesting, especially because I don't want to antagonize anybody.
Right.
I don't want to make anybody feel that they're not welcome here, right? So I'm approaching it very much. Hi, here are some new policies that we're putting in place, especially with the checkout policy. Last week, sorry, I kept the record here. Last week, with the new checkout policy, some people do take a little bit more, and throughout the week, I was able to find $105 worth of goods that were taken. Let's say
Over and above.
over and above what the limit is. So that's $105 in savings, basically, and
So you literally have to kind of disgorge, you take from what, how does, I mean, that's a delicate situation, it requires a lot of care.
of course.
And have you had any, so far, they've been, the people that have tried to take more have been understanding?
Yeah, I think there's been very minimal pushback. Most of the pushback that I've received is people just trying to run out of the door before I get to them. However, I ran track for 4 years. They're not going very far. So it's been quite easy to get to them and be like, oh, here. I've also, whenever somebody's picking up their laundry sheets that we give, I tell them, oh, just pass one in my office and I'll get you those laundry sheets. And then that's where the trap comes and I take the bag. And it's been very simple to explain when people ask me, oh, well, my bag's never been checked before. I'll tell you this. There's a new policy and this is how it's gonna go from now on. So you can look forward to that next time you come visit.
Okay, good.
I'm so happy you rearranged the offices, because for a long time, I thought, people come here to see the assessor office and the food pantry, I mean, nobody, I mean, once in a while, the rest of us, like, I mean.
Yeah, that was a great idea by Louis.
No, I
Marisha,
told
I'm
him that
hoping-
people are coming to see him, so.
I'm very delighted because I think that in this role, you'll be more visible right there, and and hopefully, Larisha, you won't have to, you know. do
No,
all
yes,
that.
I will. Yes, I will. That's never gonna go.
Yeah, a little better, right?
Good
Yeah,
luck.
it was a great move, it surprised me and I'm happy.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to add that it's so nice to meet you in person and so impressed already with what you've accomplished in this very short amount of time. And so we're just excited to see what else you will bring to the role. But we appreciate everything so far.
Absolutely.
I know we have a big agenda, but I wanted to quickly mention that Arnold and I were discussing that Northfield is not giving eggs in the pantry because they're so expensive. Because I was mentioning that yesterday about putting like possible hold on eggs because they're $10 or more per dozen.
Yes, I won't buy it after $3.
Yeah, so, it is something like me, you know, Arnold and Gail could put our heads together about, but it's very costly, and I mean, people do come here to get eggs, I mean, honestly, you know,
Yeah,
We'll discuss that,
That's
some
what
little
I'm
bit
trying to
minutia for
say.
the board, yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
yeah. And the last thing was, because you brought up the bag issue, right?
Oh,
The decennial review had recommended going to, family size restrictions versus one size fits all.
Yes.
So we'll also wanna discuss, you know, given that bag, yeah, did you talk to Northfield about theirs? Yep, fabulous. You're on it, so we'll start implementing, and make sure that all these bigger families are fed, so we can serve the people.
And just one idea, as you're thinking about whether to continue to give out eggs, you know, could we only give out half a dozen per family, just split the carton and kind of double our.
Part of the problem with that is just transporting it.
They do
And they
sell
are-
half
They
dozens.
sell half,
Yeah.
yeah,
They do?
Mhm.
we have to check.
Yeah.
I like that.
Never bought a good.
okay, it's quiet.
Well, I bought plenty and I. Yeah.
Please don't make her late. We'd love to have you at the annual meeting.
Yes.
One of the few times you're.
And actually, I think it would be lovely if he were to, if Arnold could present to the front of the township to our,
Wow.
It's a great idea.
yeah, because the front of the township we're giving to, Ava Dean's Bakery and, to Food Hall for their.
Oh,
so-
so you've been drafted.
Okay,
And that'll be an introduction of you also to the people as well.
all right.
Excellent.
You said friend of the township, right?
Yep. Wonderful. Any other questions? All right, we're still on, so you are excused. But we still are on, the staff reports, if anybody has anything else they want to pull for discussion.
So from Melanie's, for Outreach and Communications,
Mhm.
I wanted to, talk about the paper shredding event, which
Mhm.
you know is my favorite holiday of the
I know.
year. So regardless, I talked to Melanie about this a little bit. I know that there's been a lot of back and forth. And now it's looking like most likely we're gonna be in May,
Mhm.
which I'm not opposed to, better weather. The one thing that I wanted to point out from last year and the year before that we need to really make sure and hammer home as much as possible is whatever we are doing in terms of shredding, be it on-site, be it off-site, we need to be very clear with people because we've had a couple of incidents where people, you know, didn't like that we were gonna be bringing things off-site to shred
Yes.
and they think that, you know, the government is gonna be reading their stuff. So we just need to, whatever we're gonna do, we just need to be very clear
Yes.
about that. And
I raised
also,
that with Melanie as well.
yeah, and I understand and appreciate that we're doing just paper and prescription drug take back this year. And she said that the rationale was that the electronics filled up too quickly, not too quickly, but very quickly.
quickly.
And you know, we just did not have enough space
Yeah.
ultimately for, you know, more of that. So,
Yeah.
you know, I love that each year we're figuring this out a little bit better, so.
So it's not gonna be April 26th, it's gonna be sometime.
It will not be correct.
We're
Well,
still
it's gonna
moving
be in May, most likely. We do not have an exact date.
Yeah.
I assure you, I will let you know.
And of course, the Blue Sky account that you recommended was.
There you
also-
go, which I love.
Yep. Any other, anything else from the staff reports for discussion?
No.
Questions for Larisha?
Question for Larisha, community, development block grant, how complex is that?
Oh, it's not a joke. We don't even have enough time to even talk about it. I have to talk to Gail about it tomorrow. Because there's a resolution piece, there's a resolution certificate piece. I can get the amount. They're coming out to do some more asbestos checking in the basement tomorrow. The amount is not the issue. I think it's like, it's very complex in what they need from us. So I'm gonna talk to Gail about it tomorrow. It would be great to get it. But it's due March 21st, and there's a couple of pieces that they need from us that, resolution wise, certificate wise, I don't know exactly what they want though, so I have to sit down and hammer that out with
And
Gail.
the logistics of writing a grant, would that be something that like Melanie could partake in, being that she could?
I don't know if Melanie's gonna be able to do that. I mean, I've read through it, it's 21 pages. And honestly, if strategic planning was scaring everybody, this is like not better. So I'm gonna just try to sit down and hammer it out with Gail and figure out Those are required pieces, that certificate piece and that resolution piece are both required. You can't skip past them. There's like 6 or 7 requirements. So, the financial piece, I find that, you know, even if we gave them a guesstimate from Get Well, you know, and the other contractors, we would be fine. It's just those other pieces that they want from us. They do have like a helpline email that, you know, you can ask them, what else, you know, how can we get around this? But they want those. They actually grade you on each part of the application by points. And, you know, when you add up those points, that's how they award the grant.
Do we have a template that we can use to help facilitate the process? Like, has Northfield ever applied for one?
I don't know,
But
actually.
it would all be very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Their capital needs are different than ours and they're already renovating, so.
oh yeah. All right, anything else for discussion from the staff reports? Seeing none, we're back to our regularly scheduled agenda, assessors report.
Yes, hi, everybody. First off, I will actually be generating a written report for all of you, but the last 5 days I've had something going on and had no access to computers or information or anything else. I've been almost completely elsewhere. So that will be written up and delivered later. I left everybody an updated copy of the budget only because, well, there's this mathematical change, very small. But you all wanted a breakdown of what other meant under the salary portion. So it includes the, excuse me, Social Security, Medicare, and IMRF particulars. And that was why you all got it. The totals are not vastly different. I actually saved a little money with my mathematical error, so that was good. For the remainder of the report, we did have our meeting with members of the assessor's office nearly a month ago now. It was just after President's Day weekend. And everything went very well. How much they approved of the idea in principle of cleaning up our neighborhood boundaries in order to expand possibilities for helping residents get the best comps possible. How much of it could actually get implemented before our information gets fed into the system for the reassessment they simply did not know. But it was the concepts were approved, which was the main idea. And so hopefully something will be done. I'm resending a list of the specifics I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. I think that's what Scott Smith asked me to do in his follow-up, but I'm not positive. But so that's what I'm doing because I can't think of anything else to do. And then we also had a very nice outreach meeting here. Our former communications director, Julie Koenigsberger, brought over a group of honor students from Regina Dominican High School for a look-see at the township and how it operates. And we ended up with lunch. Brian spoke, Jean spoke, Gail spoke. Larisha, did you speak or not? I can't remember.
No, I was downstairs.
Larisha was downstairs running the rest of the township while everybody was running around upstairs. But it was a very nice event, went very well. And Julie reported afterwards that the girls all really had a good time and felt it was a very useful experience for them. So I was very pleased that she had reached out and wanted to do that because it was really fun to do. Excuse me, the exemption form, the assessors, it's the 2025 exemption form, but of course it covers 2024 exemptions. So it is out, and there are some Zoom meetings coming up to what they call train the trainers to explain to us how the form has changed from year to year. And Gail actually sent me something today that a Women's Tax Attorneys Association is having a Zoom tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to participating in because it will be probably covering the same material, but not from the assessor's point of view. And that I always think is a great idea. Because they only want to sell us on what they want to do, and another association might have a different perspective on how effective some of the things are. So that's fine with me. Excuse me. And then also in the report, the total statistics for the year all will appear in the annual report in the little by the numbers box. But in the report that I write up and send to you, I'll give you the normal breakout of all of the pieces for the last 2 quarters of 2024, because we didn't get all the information in a very timely fashion for some strange reason this year, but we have it all now. And then just one other thing, and this it does relate to the budget overall. My office expense figure always it includes the figure that I made up for rent, but it also includes the 25% share of the HTML contract that HTML worked out. The assessor's office, should be responsible, but our equipment took up about a quarter of what they supplied altogether. So if there are any changes going forward and when we get a new provider, I would need to know about any changes to that figure. There's no way I can compute it until we have one, so I left it the way it was, not knowing what else I might do to it. But Larisha and Gail, be aware there might be some changes depending on what unfolds and exactly when it unfolds. And just for my own perspective, we had enough problems. We were fine with the HTML staff we were assigned to begin with, but there were problems with their understanding that my office is a separately operated piece of the township, and as such had some different needs that were not being responded to at all. And I would like to have the opportunity to speak to whoever the final provider is to make sure that they understand from my perspective what it is I might need in terms of service if there's a problem at any given moment. When something goes right, when everything is going right, there's never a problem. But if it breaks down, depending on what time of year it breaks down, if it breaks down when we are open for appeals, and especially this year in 2025 as a reassessment year, we cannot afford to be without access during our appeal windows. And a lot of places do not really understand what that means. But especially the first both of them. We normally try to be available doing some of the work 7 days a week because it's much easier than crunching 9-10-hour days. So that means weekend support possibly. And I just want to make sure that that's in the in the understanding that I need to be able to speak to them too. So I think that will do it for me. If anybody has any questions, that's fine.
Seeing none, public comment. Seeing none, I gave you the legislative updates that we slipped in favor of the treasurer's proposal. The other bills haven't come up yet. They often will put all the FOIA and OMA bills together at the very end. So we shall find out what happens. Mayor's Monarch Challenge.
The only thing that I like better than shredding paper is saving butterflies. This is part 2 of, last month's Mayor's Monarch Challenge, where we voted last month to do this year. So now this is, remember that they have us do at least 3, it can be up to 20 something different parts of this challenge. The arguably easiest one to do is what we're gonna do tonight, which is make a proclamation. This is the first 4 whereas clauses are exactly the same as we've done the last few years. But the excitement, I think, is really in the 5th whereas clause, where we're kind of talking about the things that we're going to do this year. Part A of that 5th whereas clause is about raising awareness. That's through this proclamation. B is creating a community art project to enhance and promote monarch and pollinator conservation, as well as cultural awareness and recognition. I've talked to Steve. We're going to start getting some of our agency partners that have art therapy programs involved and invested in this, and we're going to display up here. So we're going to do that. And then hosting or supporting a native seed or plant sale, giveaway or swap. Gail and I have been talking about, instead of my children hurling candy at people at the 4th of July parade,
Gently
we tell them gently place, Eve's got, an arm. And so instead of doing that, we're trying to find, very, very cost efficient, seed packets for kind of pollinator friendly, native plants, so that we could, hopefully get Melanie involved in doing a QR code on the back, so we could send them to our website, but also, not only just highlight other people that are doing native plant stuff, but do it, ourselves and really push it ourselves. I took, the awesome, idea that Stefan had last year of doing the proclamation in advance of the actual month that we are proclaiming to be, the Monarch Month. And so considering we've got a lot going on in April with the annual town meeting and the election, I would ask for, a motion or make a motion, that we proclaim, that May is going to be our, our Monarch Butterfly Month, here in New Trier Township, and really kick this effort off.
Is there a second? Any discussion? For C, I saw on social media, an idea that I thought was really cool. It was having, native seed library essentially,
Yeah.
but it could be a native seed pantry.
It could be. So the Winnetka Northfield Public Library District actually has a seed library already. And they have a whole native seed section of the library. And considering that we have our pantry kind of outsourced already over there, that could be a fun thing that we kind of collaborate with them on too.
Oh,
So
I love that.
Yeah.
So they could have a mini library here, but we have our mini pantry.
There you
there.
go.
Loving
Like
that.
cross collab, as the kids say.
Pollinate if you.
Oh, look at you. I heard it.
That's an excellent idea about the seed package. You know that years ago, we had sold just by country. So Kate, they were very popular. We had money and we contributed that back into the Monarch Fund.
There you go.
Before, which is well organized. But we did sell them and people thought they were great.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Very fun.
All right, seeing no additional discussion, all those in favor of proclaiming May 2025 Monarch Butterfly Month in New Trier Township, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none.
You're opposed to butterflies, I'm opposed to you.
We didn't spell, we offered.
Thanks.
It has been proclaimed. Okay, back to you, Amanda. All right, discussion of the township budget. So just as a way of procedure, today we're going through the worksheets. Once we have approved the worksheet, that will be placed into the official budget form. That will be noticed at least 30 days ahead of the budget meeting. And that budget meeting, we will officially approve the budget. Okay, so there's a little bit of procedural wrangling, but it is nice to have an operating budget that's tentative while we go, because we do have to actually have operations. Okay, so walking through some of the key changes. The property taxes was the levy that we already passed, so that's in there. The personal property replacement, you'll see a vastest decrease. We had warned about that last year, and that is based on the estimates that the Department of Revenue gave us. Interest earned, did I never fill that out? I never did. Okay.
James did, he should have put one in there.
We asked him to add that. We will have him add that.
I think it's 50,000.
It was supposed to be 50?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna still estimate 50,000, which is what we did last time. And as you know, we went way over.
Why would we estimate so little?
Because of the decrease in interest rates that we're anticipating.
It's come down a little bit, it's come down into the low
I would
fours.
rather underestimate the revenue,
Yeah.
And be
Pleasantly
pleasantly
surprised.
surprised, yes. So if James feels that that's a responsible number, we're not gonna be, we're not, you'll see that this number is not going to affect whether we're in a, whether we're have a surplus or not, right? We're not gonna be, budgeting beyond our means here. Okay.
But the problem with underestimating, and I think this is a gross underestimate, is that you end up, the surplus keeps growing. And, at some point, you gotta try to be as accurate as possible on these.
I absolutely agree, but I cannot tell you what's going to happen. I don't have the crystal
Well,
ball.
interest rates have gone from the low fives to the mid fours, and there's this big of a school that says they're gonna creep back up, that says that there's gonna be any interest. I don't think there's gonna be any rate cuts. I think we're as low as we're gonna get. But even if they were to go a little bit lower, I mean, we just had how much in interest?
96,000.
No, we had more than that, I thought.
Our actual is 96.
Okay. I would split the difference somewhere between 50 and 96 at around 75.
James puts 50.
I lean towards
But-
James, could not see you.
But he tends to err on the side of growing the surplus and,
But this has nothing to do with the surplus.
well, but.
It'll exist or it won't. It's just gonna be it's
Well,
just,
but when your revenue estimates are lower, then you spend less, and then when property taxes come in 270,000 more than we expected. That's how the surplus grows, and that's how the taxpayers get upset when we're increasing our levy by 1%.
I see what you're saying. Is there anyone who wants to discuss that point as far as estimating the interest earned?
I think we hit a high point last year in interest for the time being. I think interest is going to continue to go down.
We have
And
a
I think
greater
it-
surplus to work with.
Yeah, but I think that the economy is so volatile at the moment that we don't know where anything's going, so to start monkeying with any given part of it, I think is a mistake.
I would agree.
Me too.
Okay.
So I'm not hearing consensus to go above the 50. We can be pleasantly surprised, noting that if we have some interesting information in May, right, we can revise. This is just what we're putting out there for public comment. So I'm seeing 50. All right, other income, that's the dividend from Twarma. It was used to be a mystery, that's what that is. Passport fees, we are estimating about 30. So we now have 3 passport agents, so. Okay, the agencies are all what we approved previously, so none of that needs to be discussed. Childcare I kept even, though we did not spend it all this year. I do still feel like there are people we're not meeting, we're not reaching. And childcare continues to go up, so.
Well, and I also know that Jean has been working with District 36 in Winnetka as not a new partnership, but a more intensified partnership. And,
Exactly.
there's gonna be hopefully, kind of more, information flow. So that, to the degree that there is a need of township resources in the childcare arena, that it'll get to people.
Absolutely. So that was that suggestion. Stop me if there's any line that anyone wants to discuss, of course.
I'm excited about the transportation services stuff.
Transportation services, yes. So we would be decreasing to 5,000. We've not been using, again, the dial-a-ride as much. Those who are using it are very into it, but some people are hoarding their coupons.
What does that mean, they're hoarding their coupon?
They keep them forever.
Do they have expiration dates?
No.
So we could potentially get hit. How much hoarding?
I'm sure that they're likely lost, but
No, some people use them from 2013. They still have them.
yeah, so it's because it's a coupon book.
Have any sense of how much is outstanding?
No.
Well,
Yeah,
then
this is
that's,
all pre-existing.
Yeah, that system is not, it's better than it was. It used to be an Excel spreadsheet. But that system is not intuitive in the way that I can get reporting. Does that make sense?
but for our own protection, we might wanna consider a policy where we let our dial-a-ride users know that as of this date, any coupons before 2022 or 2023 will be deemed expired. We might wanna corral that in.
So here's the one issue, so they don't have expirations on them, right? So part of the issue is that we wanted to change how much we were giving reimbursement, right? But these are all existing,
For a long time, since
Right.
like 2011, the contract is still the same.
right? So the problem is that they don't have an expiration. So you're sitting there in the taxi, you hand them the voucher,
Right.
right?
But I'm saying if you
These
put our
are the
dial-a-ride
taxi-
people on
No.
notice, 6 months or not, you
No,
know.
but the taxi driver's not gonna know.
No,
Mm.
that's the problem. They provide the service, we provide the subsidy.
I
And
know.
the elderly people who have these coupons, there's one particular one that has called me and argued with me 20 times that we are always changing the rules of this program.
And it hasn't changed.
So it has not changed. So if we throw any little, penny into the pond, it's gonna be a problem. And I mean, literally, people are still using coupons. I'm still seeing them from 2013.
I hear you. I wish I could do that. It just.
We wish
won't
we
work.
could
Let
get
me,
rid of
let me throw a scenario out there. Let's say one of our, dial-a-ride users, conspires with the cab driver, I'm gonna give you $3,000 for these old coupons, and then I want you to present them and we'll split the profits.
They won't do that. The cab drivers already don't wanna take the coupons. It's cash to them, right? It's only $6, but most of them don't wanna take it. Because they're used to
They would rather have the
they would
money
rather have the
than
money.
to go to you.
We wanted to go to Cab Connect. Cab Connect, I've been trying for roughly 5-6 months to get Cab Connect. It's falling flat. American Taxi said that a lot of other townships are experiencing that same problem. They are the only game in town, unless we were to go over to Lyft, which is complicated because a lot of our demographic of people don't even have smartphones and are not even able to use the app. So we're kind of stuck.
Yeah. So yes, the program I think is winding down.
Yes.
And we will explore alternative transportation services. So. All right, other projects. So here we made it, we forgot to edit this again. So just take a look at where it says pure jury funds. That would be changed to 1,500. That's the original scholarship amount. We didn't change it from last year when we had two. Otherwise, we're keeping school supplies the same, community support groups, support grants the same. We do not need to do our Oakton scholarship because we found it. So new program funds, here I'm asking for an increase. Because I don't know what the world's gonna bring, and I'm just very concerned that we're going to need to have a bit of wiggle room here, a cushion. And then the new housing fund, so this is what I'm proposing as well, that we would annually put aside $20,000 into this housing fund. It's not necessarily its own account, but we would continue to grow this number so that when a parcel comes up in the township, an HDOC or a similar nonprofit, we can aid in purchasing that property. Because how they explained it is like, for instance, take the Sunshine Retirement Home on Ridge near Malincrot. That came up and was went to auction. They were not able to purchase it, even though it was extremely reasonable and would make it very easy to convert it into housing. Because it's a nursing home. But they couldn't purchase it because they didn't have cash,
Sorry, who couldn't purchase that?
like the Housing Development Opportunity Corporation.
Okay,
Right.
housing development opportunity.
And I'm not saying that it's necessarily that we would be using it for them, we would just have this ability as a township to buy affordable housing, to help towards affordable housing,
Contribute.
to the down payment essentially. The
It's not
the
the
township
township buying property.
No,
it's us
we would
funding an
contribute.
Agency or.
who would then have the property for affordable housing.
Is that in our lane?
I think so.
Okay.
It's right in our mission. I will say that it cannot be through our current funding process because we do not fund capital projects through the funding project. So that's why it is a special project under the, what do we call it?
Other
Township
townships.
Projects of townships and we used to call it, right?
So,
If we contributed any money to get any kind of interest in it?
We would have a definite lawyer review, right? There are all sorts of ways that this could work, but I would definitely be seeking, a real estate, attorney's advice.
so you're proposing we put aside 20,000 a year in a separate account, which will be an interest-bearing account.
Yep.
let that money grow, add money to it, and then when an opportunity presents itself, we could be one of the contributing bodies towards the purchase within the township.
Yep.
Of affordable housing.
Exactly.
And you thought one of the people that might spearhead it is this Housing Development Opportunity Corporation.
Yes.
Where are they based?
They are based now, are they still in Wilmette? They used to be in Winnetka Community House.
Who else contributes to them? Do any other townships or municipalities contribute to them?
So I know that Highland Park and Deerfield, I believe they just built a a housing development in Deerfield for individuals with developmental disabilities.
The township or the village of Deerfield?
I believe it was a partnership amongst.
Would that
many
apply to this too, with people with disabilities, or just
Right,
specifically for affordable?
affordable housing, and it could be,
But it could be
depending on
for
the
like a
situation.
group, okay.
Right, so like something like the nursing home could have been a great opportunity for them, right?
Is that an appropriate and legal way to spend taxpayers' dollars without their consent?
What do you mean?
Well, we're taking tax dollars
Yep,
and putting it toward affordable housing.
yes,
And some of our constituents may not buy into that, so I'm just.
the same way they might not buy into mental health aid.
You
Or
could
senior
send it
services.
out. It's consistent with the mission
It's in
of
the
the
mission.
township.
Yeah,
And it would only be it would only be affordable housing within the township.
right,
And then we might actually have some input or influence as to the residents
Exactly.
that can.
other townships have their own housing developments, Hanover just built their own. We will never get to that point,
So they're out of Skokie right now.
there you go, yeah, so there's
They
still.
said that they're ongoing, but they say that they're, in serving people in Cook, Lake and McHenry counties. Their ongoing goals to preserve or increase the amount of affordable housing available. They purchase, develop and rehabilitate or construct rental and owner occupied affordable housing.
Yeah, so they were the ones who did Cleveland Place, that's what, so I was coming back to my supervisor's report.
They've been on Cleveland. They tried to do Cleveland.
No, they did Cleveland
Oh,
Place.
they did Cleveland.
Yeah, so they bought from the American Legion that parcel, and then they developed it.
Is that the one on Sun?
It's on, Wilmette and
Yeah.
Ridge.
Oh, Rich, okay.
Mhm.
So if this opportunity presented itself, would you bring this to the board and the
Yes.
board would then vote on it?
Exactly.
Okay.
My reservations are all about the fact that there's been a lot of pushback up here for affordable housing to the point where some of the villages have gone home rule for the exact same reason. They don't wanna have to be compelled to do affordable housing. So I'm not against it, but I think that it could be a real hot button in the community. And so we need to consider that because this is a community that has not been very open to the idea of affordable housing. And
Right,
we're in a village right now that went home rule to avoid having to do affordable housing. So
Yeah.
I think we have to be aware of that.
just do remember though, that despite being home rule, there's now a state mandate to have a housing plan to get to, what is it, 15% affordable housing,
But
right?
I thought that was if you were non-home rule.
Wilmette's home rule,
Mhm.
and they're subject to it.
I thought that was the reason for going to.
Mayor?
Well, originally, unless they updated the legislation, originally, if you went home rule, you're right. You could then craft your own affordable housing plan. So you don't really get out of it, I don't think
Right.
is the way it was, but what you could do is you could, like what Winnetka looked at was moderate housing. What makes sense for Winnetka, given the high property values? That how could we put in something that was more moderate to bring in a more diverse population? But the concern, I think, is bringing in like the HUD, housing into the communities and what might that bring? What kind of
Population.
population for something like that? And I think that was more the concern than necessarily just having more moderate housing.
And this would not,
Whatever the reason, there isn't any affordable housing up here.
this would not usurp the zoning ability of the municipalities too, just to keep that clear. So once HDOC bought Cleveland Place, bought the American Legion Hall, they had to go through the zoning, and yes, there was a contentious board meeting, I was there, it took a long time. And it passed. And I think it turned out great. And a lot of the concerns have not proven out, right?
So who else besides HDOC is doing this up here? You know, my concern is, one of my concerns is, what if this organization is no longer around? Is there anybody else that's doing this that we could potentially bring money into? So that's one question. Another question is, what if this ends up being like, the brothel law, where, you know, my sorority charged me a certain amount a year for, you know, a housing fee, but we were never allowed to have a house because there was an old brothel law? And what if nothing ever becomes available? How long do we throw money into an account before we have to use it? I've got a lot mulling around up here. I'm just
This
trying to
is an
figure out.
annual allocation, right?
Right.
So it can stop next year,
Mhm.
right?
But then we've got $20,000 sitting that we can't tap.
Well, it's not like we're saying, it could never, like, we can't bind further boards on how they use the money. So the fund would exist, it's being set up for housing, but, boards in the future could use it how they deem fit. And I can certainly draft,
That's,
the resolution to that effect.
I think the fund is, I reread the township mission and the guiding principles, and I think your proposal is squarely in line with what our mission and our principles are. I don't think it's a bad idea, as long as we set up the fund with the caveat that in the event the opportunities don't present themselves in a reasonable amount of time, it can be voted on to go back into,
General fund.
general funds, yes.
But then you're really gonna have surplus.
Then you would, but that would be another reason to not increase the levy that particular year. I mean, to do things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, you know, one of the problems that we see is that some of our neediest township residents, really, to stay in the township can be very, very difficult sometimes. They get priced out of the township. And we're talking about seniors, we're talking about youth at risk, we're talking about people with disabilities and so on. And if we could have input in good quality, affordable housing that could allow some of these township residents to prolong their stay in the townships, you know.
Elliot, I'm not against the concept
To
at
Kate's
all. I
question,
think it's full of red flags. That's where I'm coming from.
to Kate's question, I could also see us partnering with a Clearbrook or Glenkirk, depending on what opportunity arises. So it could also be a Scylla.
Exactly.
If that was the case, then,
Are we gonna get tagged for playing favorites?
well, the other thing,
If someone wants to have affordable housing in the township, this fund would allow us to have funds available to that.
Remember the 4 young men in the one Scylla, and there were parents that said, let's do something for the women. They need a little bit of help. You know, this is the kind of thing that could.
And actually that came out of the meeting as well, is that I was gonna introduce the center, to our house, so that they can discuss potential expansion opportunities.
so.
Danielle, I'm sorry, I jumped right on top of
No,
you there.
no,
Go ahead.
no, that's okay.
please.
So my other question is, and I could be totally off track, but just kind of thinking about something that happened to us last year or the year before. If this opportunity for funding presents itself at a certain time of the year, or will we need to go to the committees?
Right, that's what I'm saying, this is outside the committee process, because we're not allowed to do capital spending in the committee process. This is a project of township significance.
Even if we do it in conjunction with
A
one of the agencies that we already fund?
Right,
Okay.
so we would have to go through the board process, it would be, and we could have an ad hoc committee, but it would not be through the general process.
Don't we have enough surplus, at least at the moment, that if we had an opportunity to come up, we could allocate funds for it?
Well, it wouldn't be in the budget.
Yeah, but we've got
Well, but you
how
got
much
pots.
interest that
I mean, we had pots for years now, and we very rarely tap into it. And I know the number's gone down in pots, but that was why it was there, was for startups, new projects, things that come up during the course of the year that weren't otherwise covered by the budget. I'm picking up someone on Kate's thought that how long do you hold it? How much you put into it? What happens when you have $100,000 and you haven't spent it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd rather personally create a project once it's in existence as opposed to anticipatory. That's just my take of it.
So you would like it to be under new program, put another 20,000 in new program funds.
Yeah, and then it's there. If the opportunity arises, we throw it over there. As opposed to segregating out funds on the front end, just flat.
But sometimes when you actually create a new fund and you earmark it as such, you sometimes have people that say, this is a place where we should do something, and we might get a little help from Nuclear Township, which has shown a commitment to this kind of project. And this might be contagious. I mean, when you don't have it designated as such, then people look and say, well, is there an interest here? I mean, here we have an interest.
Yeah.
Exactly, and this is the number one unmet need in the township is housing. So, as we know, our number one financial assistance is for housing. It's the only one we don't have any agencies other than for the development of disabilities that serves. And none of our communities are meeting these state mandates. So, we'll do a vote on that one, on the new housing fund. All those in favor of allocating $20,000 towards a housing fund during FY 26, please say aye.
Or should be.
Is there a
Oh.
motion?
Oh, yeah, sorry, you're right, this is all, yeah, so I need a second.
Second,
Okay, this is not an actual
But I'll put it as an advisory,
As-
a straw poll.
it's going into the next year's, budget. Yes, so
Right,
as a
but
straw.
just to advise.
Sure, but we'll still call the roll for fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trustee Rubin,
Yes.
trustee Moser,
No.
trustee Robin,
yes.
trustee Cassell McNally,
No.
supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes.
Okay, so 3-2.
have too many questions.
But again, we can draft it broadly. We can craft some language that
Yes.
gives us a lot of wiggle room, lot of wiggle room.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, all right. Meeting expenses, we're keeping the same. Contractual services. We have a slight increase in printing and publishing. Our costs keep going up. We'll continue to try to keep them lower, but does happen. Website maintenance, based on our new contract. 14,
On the website maintenance, do the proposals that we're considering tonight have anything to do with that?
no, that's different. This is website maintenance
Is
specific.
our ongoing civic plus.
So,
That's a different contract.
okay,
Hosting and webmaster and all that. Civic clerk. So that it's lower than last year because we don't have the setup fees. We're going to use it to its full extent. Right,
Absolutely.
fabulous. Dues and.
It's already helped.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Dues and subscriptions, keeping the same. The other major differences, we're asking for a decrease on office equipment. We've been able to obtain some savings there. Postage, we've been doing less mailings, so hopefully that will keep in line.
We actually, it looks like we went a little bit above that, now that I'm looking at that.
Would you recommend going up on that?
Yeah, because postage is gonna keep going up.
Okay,
So it says that we went over by 1,182.
you're right.
Now, the only issue is that, when we bring in passport fees, that actually offsets. And that's one reason why I think I might have left this number the same. Remember when we were talking about that, passport fees brings in income that we can actually offset postage. So if we leave it at 5, we don't have an issue covering it because passport fees partially covers our mailing fees.
Do we use metered mail or do we use, okay,
Yeah, we have a Pitney Bowes machine, so we get the Simpro mailing rate for sending our mail from here, so we can send priority mail from here.
And that is, the number one FOIA thing is our Pitney Bowes contract.
Mhm.
So would you recommend going to 7,000 or staying at 5?
I think we can stay at 5 and we should be able to cover from what we bring in revenue from the passports. We're good there.
Why specifically can you use revenue passports for postage? Or why would you, I guess?
We charge people when they do expedited, we charge them what we pay. So we actually bring in money back into postage. But I think the important part is this year, I'm gonna have Tim allocate that money back. The only part of it is breaking it out from the fees because we clump together the fees with the postage, the execution fee and the photo fee. It's not broken out. They don't pay it separately.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna skip auditing and consulting for now, because those inputs are a part of the proposals we've received. Otherwise, we want to have a decrease on the outreach events, so we've increased our outreach events. We just don't need that kind of funds.
People have been doing stuff for us for free too.
Yep.
That truck is now free, so that does help.
Yeah, we used to pay for the shred truck.
Mhm.
All right, our accountant went up slightly, but very minimal. In our HR services has also gone up. That was the Paylocity. So we're getting a more fulsome product. So our staff seems to be happy about that. All right. Otherwise, the assessor's office, the only change here would be given Jan's revisions to her calculations, that first line salaries would be now 89582. Otherwise, it's the same. Other expenses, we just keep a nice slush in the miscellaneous for no apparent reason.
I think we should go back to 5. I don't know who put 3 in there, maybe James or Tim, but that's what we do all of our dues and subscriptions for people's going to events and stuff like that. So we should probably keep 5 in there.
All right, we'll keep 5 there. We don't necessarily use it all. We're certainly not going to Vegas like another township.
Not this year.
Thornton.
Of course, that's why they.
Sorry.
All right. Otherwise, pretty stable. Building maintenance, we went up to 100,000, continuing our aging buildings joys. And hoping to get some either state or county funds for that bigger project. But now that we have our building report, we're hoping to plan things out a little bit better. Financial assistance, I'm asking for an increase on both lines, emergency assistance and on general assistance to account for the increased usage. We are no longer doing hospitalization insurance. There was a large debate amongst the administrators about this insurance we were all paying for $4,000 a month, and no one had ever used.
4,000 a month or a year?
I'm sorry, a year. No one had ever used, and it has been determined that because of Medicaid, we would, it's no longer necessary. It was just a vestige. So it expired, we did not renew.
Just a loaded question.
Mhm.
If they eliminate Medicaid,
Now, did I think about that the other day? Did it wake me up?
Roll that grenade right
Yeah.
in the middle of everything.
But we'll have pots.
And a housing fee, we could, sorry.
No, it's true. And actually, there's an ad in this month's perspectives that said, you saw that too? Where it said, you can't count on Medicaid. And I was like, oh God,
No kidding.
Please don't tell us that.
yeah.
Can we count on social
Here's the
security?
perspective now.
Anything. Yeah,
Death and taxes.
yep, there it is, right there. Now it's an ad from the provider, of course. But yeah, that's, yeah,
okay.
It's very
just
concerning.
asking.
yep. Yep. All right, pantry expenses, our numbers are pretty good this year. We are now passing through any donations that are earmarked for, monetary donations earmarked for the pantry directly into the fund. So that we have a better sense of what we are actually spending. So that budget, could be decreased depending on how many donations we get, so, right? All right, administration, personnel, the staff salaries that we approved at the last meeting are in here. We, as you know, put our food pantry and our social worker on GA. And that's why we can do that. But all of our benefits are still on town because it's too complicated. Elected official compensation, we also made that change a few months ago. It won't show the full amount of the, raises, if you will, because we don't have a full year at those rates. On this budget. Anything else? Let's see here. All right.
I have a thing.
Yep.
I don't vote, but I need money. Last year, you guys wanted me to hire a videographer after the fact that we didn't get our meeting recorded. So where would I pull that money from? Because
We've got a
it's,
meeting.
not gonna be
We
free.
Don't we?
We have a
There's a
meeting.
small budget, and definitely not enough to do the other little items that I have.
It can also be outreach events.
Okay, so you'll help me, thank you.
Yeah, we will always find,
You still want me to hire a videographer? Because it will definitely overshoot the annual town meeting.
Right. I mean, step one is to go to New Trier High School and see if the AD club wants to volunteer. Yeah, they also very well, because it is their boardroom, it might be wired,
Okay.
so. That would be step one, to talk to Melanie. to see if
Melanie, I'll ask
Yeah.
Melanie,
Because
she'll be great.
they have board meetings just like us, we just enter to Zoom and do a report.
Perfect, that would be great.
Yeah.
And in
Alright.
the future, you'll help me.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion on the proposed budget worksheet? All right, so you'll have another opportunity at the public meeting in May. In the meantime, we will continue to operate.
We'll put that on our website, it's the official budget hearing in May.
Exactly.
We're ready.
Do we still have to put it in?
No, it used to be a Pioneer Press, I remember filing the old little.
Are you sure we don't?
They said put it on your website.
I thought it was in addition to. We will double check
I
that,
will.
but I'm 98% sure that the newspaper lobby said you have to keep doing that. Okay, now have the auditor proposal. I will let Larisha present.
Okay, so the last auditor that I was presenting to you guys, I did some reference checks. And there were some not favorable things. People were saying that they didn't deliver the audit on time, which obviously we do not want. So, the Village of Forest Park gave me the recommendation for sickage, and I had a meeting with them, and they gave me the proposal that's in the packet. They're a little bit more expensive, but they come highly recommended from 3 recommendations. But the overall consensus of the last auditor that we were looking at for that little bit of a more affordable price was that they deliver a good product, but it's not on time, and we are really trying to get away from that.
That was about a 13,000.
Yeah, this is 19, I believe.
This is close to what we're paying right now.
Yeah,
Did you call the townships that they listed?
for sickage, yes. Yeah.
And
So they have good
seem-
reviews, yeah.
Now, is our biggest problem with our existing is Carfello or?
It's Excessian. First of all, we've had them for too long. We've had them for like 7 or 8 years.
And it's gone up in price, but are we not happy with their product or the timing of it?
There were concerns, but really the reason for switching, to be clear, is that we were recommended to switch your auditors every few years.
By the accountants.
Yes, by the accountants.
Do we have any leverage to go to take the proposal, the $13,000 proposal, and to go to Sinkage and say, look,
I already asked.
oh.
Yeah.
They didn't
He
want to,
said he cannot give us the audit at that price.
but can he meet us halfway? Can he?
I can ask again. Sometimes I just try to barter and trade, and it really doesn't work.
I know, and again, this is in line with what we're paying right now.
Mhm.
And I do like the idea of having different eyes look at things, and maybe they'll give us more feedback. It's your call, Larisha, but if, I think that these people wanna get their foot in the door, and if they could start out here maybe at 16,000 instead of the 19,000 and change, it may not be a bad opportunity for them. I mean, they're giving us a 3-year proposal, like 19, 20, 21. Isn't that what it was? It's a 3-year deal. Do we presently have a 3-year deal with, I mean, were we doing it
No.
3 years at a time?
Our engagement with Excelsior is yearly, so when we get the engagement letter, we just operate with them on a yearly basis.
I think they were claiming things were outside scope and.
They were charging
They were
us
definitely
extra, they
not-
were a la carting the services, so.
I actually appreciate the fee proposal, and I really appreciated the service timeline.
Mhm.
I thought that this looked far more in line with what I would have expected.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like you sometimes get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And this looks in line with what I would hope and expect. And so if this is something that Larisha, from talking to the people you've talked to, if this is something that you're comfortable with, this is something I'm comfortable with.
And how do you guys feel about the 3-year commitment? Is it a 3-year commitment? or-
This fiscal next and the fiscal after that, and they were also recommended on my list from our accountants.
Mhm.
Larissa, as far as the current firm, the auditor, the accountant said to switch auditors, did they give a rationale for that other than fresh eyes? I mean.
That's that's.
You don't want anybody getting too comfortable, is my
well, but as a
understanding. Is like,
lawyer, you wanted clients to go 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, so I like that continuity, so that's why I'm having some issues with the fact that we're being told to switch just for the sake of switching. But you're saying there's other underlying issues, which I'm happy to acknowledge. Then my other question is, you were gonna send out one more inquiry to a group?
Yeah,
I
and they
assume
didn't,
nobody-
yeah, they didn't respond.
Okay, so we're really, it's this or what we currently have, basically.
And the previous one that we presented that, Larisha now said is this
Well,
is
we
her
kind of-
proposal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Any additional discussion? Seeing none,
When would they start?
well,
like next week.
yeah, the audit's due in
The-
August.
Right away?
Yeah.
It says March of and
Yeah,
the
okay,
timeline for the
so-
preliminary planning.
One thing that I like about what he said in the meeting was that we have a preliminary meeting with me, Gail, the accountants, the auditors. Because when they come out for field work, I've been feeling for the past 3 years like it's always been crazy. Since I'm not an accountant, I keep saying I'm not an accountant, so. You know, with Tim not being here and, you know, trying to put all of these pieces together, it's been like a little bit difficult. So they do a preliminary meeting before we even start the audit process, which I can really appreciate. Manage expectations and things like that.
So there's 2 aspects to the audit, and I think we've always been just doing it one-dimensionally. I mean, do the audit because it's a legal requirement. And then there's do the audit, but get something from the process, learn about things we can do better. I mean, I kind of feel like since I've been with the township, you know, the audit comes up and we get it because it's a legal requirement and then we don't use it. We don't derive any benefit from it except checking the box that we've completed it. So if these guys sound like they can maybe give us some advice and help us run our business better, you know, then it sounds like it's a better fit.
Absolutely.
Just for what it's worth, in their own proposal, they tell us the townships they've represented
I know,
all
I know.
20-year plus.
I saw the same
engagements.
thing.
So
There's also the
something's
ones they're
not
gonna
wor-
choose, yeah.
Something's not working here for me, but I'll leave it at that.
All right. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the engagement with the auditors?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in, yeah, we'll call the roll.
All right, trustee Rubin.
Yes.
Trustee Moser,
Yes.
trustee Robin,
Sinkich, yes.
trustee Castell McNally.
Yes.
And Supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes. Okay, we've also received a proposal for a new IT consultants group.
Is
So
this to
just-
replace ACML?
Yes, this is to replace HTML.
Okay.
HTML has had a lot of turnover.
A lot.
And it has impacted service.
Well, I noticed that they're not sending out the quiz every week.
They recently moved. We lost our two main people on the help desk. We had a visual GA problem for over 2.5 weeks, which they had me rectifying. Instead of me, having somebody come out, which I asked for multiple times.
Yep.
So there's just, I've never had a problem with HTML until pretty recently, but we pay them a
These
lot
were
of
pretty
money.
egregious, yes.
And the person who came in last week said that we can use an upgrade. That's up to them, right? It's up to HTML to come in, give us a yearly review and say, hey, you guys need new equipment. That's not up to us, right? So, this person, his name is Bob, he's come out twice already and said, hey, you guys can use better access points because this is a bank building. You guys, need a firewall and things like that. Those are not things that I know, that we
Yeah.
need. So,
Yeah. What we were
Is
told
there-
was a firewall was not a firewall.
yeah.
Is our current understanding with HTML, what's our contract right now with them? Are we, it's a month, it's a
We
1 year,
basically
it's
we go fiscal year to fiscal year. with them.
Okay.
So, and I have some billing questions because I've been seeing some double billing.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Bill about that and he said, get back to you.
Okay,
And I haven't heard back from him yet, so I'm gonna email him again tomorrow.
so this
you-
is listed, sorry. So, this is listed as a 3-year contract with automatic 12-month renewal, subject to a 60-day termination,
Mhm.
right, on either side. Are we comfortable with that? Is that, I mean, I know we just approved something that's also a 3-year contract, but I just wanna make sure that we're cool with that.
I am because of the 60-day,
Yeah, but it's after 3 years.
Have we timely terminated HTML then? Or did we automatically renew because we just started in fiscal year?
Yeah, we have not done anything with HTML
We have not.
global yet because we still need coverage and we still have to get to this meeting and the fiscal year has already started, so.
So my question is, did we renew automatically for another year?
I will say, well, I'm gonna say this on the record that that's always like a little bit muddy with them every time I discuss contracts with them. Because that was also before my term. Diane hired HTML Global. So,
I think we have grounds to rescind it. I mean, they're
yeah,
not,
we do have a master service agreement. But we have grounds, I feel to terminate for paying them all of this money and not getting like the portion of service that we need to keep the building running essentially.
So it's for you're terminating for cause.
we're not getting the
Potentially.
service.
Yeah.
if we need to have a fight about it.
Yeah.
We have some lawyers.
Just a few.
Yeah, okay. Do we know somebody else who's used Hodgson? Have we checked like references and stuff on that?
I don't have references from them, but this got referred to me from our cleaning person and Northbrook Chamber of Commerce
Okay,
uses them as
Okay.
well. So the lady from the Northbrook Chamber of Commerce said, I heard you guys might be looking for another IT company
okay,
because Northfield, our cleaning company, all of these other people are having issues with HTML Global.
okay.
Have we shopped the market at all?
I admittedly have not had time to shop the market, Stefan, if you wanna use that for special projects,
I got one.
yeah, I'm not just putting it all out there, trust me, I could always use help finding vendors. But there's not really enough time in my day to like,
That's
tackle
right.
everybody down, if that makes sense.
We
If you
did-
got,
we both met him and he seemed like a straight shooter, yeah.
And then in terms of the initial outlay and the kind of the fees, I can't remember what, the HTMLs. kind of
that's
fees that are
35 a
stuff.
year now.
Okay,
Yeah, so that had gone up too,
all right, so this is well within
yeah.
kind of reasonable.
Yeah, we do have to buy a firewall and that's a one-time fee that, I think he said it's like $6,000 for the whole setup with them putting access points in that room. That's out of date. Stuff downstairs is out of date. And for them to clean up that stuff in that server room, because we really don't have anywhere else to put a server, if that makes sense.
Will they do the cybersecurity?
Yes, they do that as well. So they still have a portal, they still have cybersecurity. They basically have a lot of the stuff that HTML Global has as far as staff and elected officials is concerned, like the micro trainings, the yearly training for cybersecurity is the same model, basically.
Yeah.
New videos, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll check me
Yeah.
out.
It may be more user friendly. It was impossible for me to get into the HTML stuff. I had a hard time getting in there.
That's because you're not tech
So,
savvy.
so long as this gives, Jan what assessors need, the assessor's office
Right.
needs, which it looks like they will.
Yeah.
I think this is reasonable.
Yeah.
Although again, I mean, I thought I heard her say that she might have to call someone on a Sunday. I mean, I don't know who's gonna be around for that.
Well, but they have, they have,
Support.
off time,
Yeah.
support, like.
Well,
Right, so
also,
it's
the way
built in.
that it was originally structured was that Jan had to go through the administrator to be able to communicate about her issues. It is no longer like that. So Jan communicates about her office at her free will.
She wants, when Hodgson does come, if we go with Hodgson and they come over, she wants them to come up and work with her in her room.
There will be a team meeting.
Yeah.
So that's what his plan is, to have everybody together, discuss, you know, the inner workings of the township. So there's basically like an onboarding meeting.
Yeah.
Right. But I think she's saying that since I'm paying 25% of it out of my budget, I wanna have myself too. Thought I heard her say that.
She wants to be able to talk.
To talk to
That
them
was not the
directly.
case,
Yeah.
so this will allow her to do.
Yeah,
that.
no, this'll work, this works fine for me. I'm sorry, I can't seem to get my picture back at the moment, but I'm still
I'm
here.
speaking up for you,
Yeah,
Jan.
as of
I
right
didn't know
now,
you were
that's
still
not,
here.
yeah, as of right now, that's not restricted. I don't control how Jan talks to HTML Global if they tell her that,
I'm
so.
excited. to be
I
here.
prefer not to.
Yeah, they were not as available to you as you wanted them to be, right? HTML.
Correct, and well, we resolved the problem, but it's one that had I been able to speak to them at the beginning, that is to the management, our personal support rep was great, but when we had an emergency, I was not able to get the level of support that I needed because it was against company policy. And I just said, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. You know, you
Right,
can't
so
have a policy that excludes me from getting help.
Right, so I'm
And,
gonna
and so
ask-
we talked, we had a meeting with the president of with the owner of the company and sorted everything out, but that should not have been something that was necessary.
Jan.
That's all. I just want to be ahead of the curve. That's all.
So I have made a motion to approve, the proposal.
Right.
All those, is there a second?
Second.
Second for Kate, please call the roll.
Trustee Rubin,
Yes.
trustee Moser,
No.
trustee Robin,
Hodgson, yes.
trustee Cassell McGalley,
Yes.
supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes. And I'll be reviewing the contracts, don't worry.
I'll put one in your
Yep,
box.
exactly.
No.
Okay, thank you. Ethan, yep,
Okay.
all right,
Gail.
yes.
I don't know if it's too late to go back to this, but I did have one question about the budget.
Yes, that's fine.
For the assessor,
Mhm.
it says 12,615. I thought we landed on 16. Were you looking?
It's not a full year of,
Yes,
it's not a
yes,
full year.
It's like prorated.
It's prorated. So the assessor salary increase does not go into effect until the next term, which does not start till January.
Mhm.
So I had to do some fancy math
Okay,
and figure out which months we're at the current salary and which months we're at the next salary.
okay.
Yeah.
Cause I'm just looking at the discrepancy for yours, it says 18,
Right.
and for hers, it says 12.
Mine goes into effect May.
It's the difference.
Gotcha,
Yes.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay,
Again, I didn't make up this township code.
Since Danielle brought up the budget, I mean, the other elephant in the room for me, and I was wondering if James gave input on this, is what our projection is for the actual property taxes. I mean, are we gonna be getting 3.7 or are we gonna be getting 4.1?
This is off the levy, so,
Okay. Because last year we got 7% more than we were expecting, which was about $250,000.
I can only budget off of what we levied. So,
And, okay. And that's what James recommends.
yes. All right, any additional new business? I see we don't have, specific for any of the committee reports. Is there anything anyone wants to note? And we'll be, going, I know the committees will give us the letters to the agencies and those will go out ahead of the first sale, checks. And we will send out the contracts, which I've already warned the agencies about. All right, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, I will see you at the annual town meeting.
Hey.
Gail, do you know what happened with the, to the record?